Marty here to take you to Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, where Joey and Dave Landreth are here to tell Music Talk all about their new album, Come Morning. Here they are, the Brothers Landreth.
What's the scene like in Winnipeg?
It's happening, man. It is really something.
Okay.
We got a lot of really cool stuff coming out of town lately. There's a whole, there's a big movement here. A lot of young artists coming up that are just making amazing music, and
Cool.
we hope that we're some small part of that.
Right. You got a record label, right? That you're kind of putting together. How's that going?
Yeah. It's going really well.
It's called Birthday Cake Records.
Birthday Cake Records. Who doesn't like birthday cake?
Exactly.
Right?
Is there ice cream with it? That's
If you want,
If you want.
you got to negotiate that into your contract.
A la
though.
mode. Yeah, that's the.
So who's signed to your label?
We've got a pile of great artists. Our friend Begonia, Alexa Dirks, who is about to be gigantic, I think.
Okay.
We work with an artist called Leith Ross. Joey's producing their record, and their management client, not on the label, but their management client.
Right.
And we've got a guy named Grant Davidson. He goes by Slow Leaves.
Right.
Do you remember a band called the Be Good Tanyas?
Yes, of course.
So we put out we've got some of their old records. They've aged out of their old contracts, and we were able to scoop up some of their
Nice.
records.
That's cool.
So we work with them. And
I'm trying to remember who was in the Be Good Tanyas. Who was the
Crazy Ford is the
Crazy Ford. I think she's
Yeah.
been here in my studio.
very
Oh, cool.
possibly. She's a monster.
Yeah.
And her solo records are she did the one with the Memphis guys. She went down to
like
she did the record with all the Al Green band.
right. Yep.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I want to say Indian Ocean. Ocean.
With like
Man,
Teeny Hodges and those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Killer.
Very cool. You can't beat that. That's cool. Yeah, it sounds like it's happening. So your Come Morning, is that coming out on Birthday Cake Records as well?
Yeah, 2 days tomorrow for you.
Yep, it's almost here.
Yeah.
What do you got planned? Anything exciting? Birthday cake?
I'm going to therapy on Friday.
Oh, there you go.
No, we were talking about this, like this record has been so different for us because like we're not on the road right now, and we haven't been on the road, and
Right.
we've been doing tons and tons of press, but the record's made, we made all these videos, we rehearsed the band, and now it's kind of anticlimactic because now we sit around for a couple weeks before we hit the road, and Friday's just gonna be a day like any other, except for these songs are out in the world.
It seems to be a recurring theme that I keep asking people what they're going to do. And the most exciting thing anybody's told me is they're going to have some pizza and go to the beach.
Yeah, it's not quite beach weather here yet.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
if you're in California, it's always beach weather, I guess.
So it's never not beach weather in California, as far as I'm concerned.
Now, speaking of videos, I was just watching the video for Stay, and that was directed by Slow Leaves, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
So let's get started on the record and talking about that, since it kicks off the thing anyway. Tell me about the song. Tell me about the video.
There's something in the way you are, something in the way you like this place. I just wanna stay. I just wanna stay a little longer.
The song Stay is a tune that I started writing. Originally, I had it earmarked for a solo record, and I had plans to make a record in my apartment. I had a little home studio put together in our dining room and spare bedroom, and I loved the vibe in there. And so I had this sort of lofty idea to make a solo record all on my own in my apartment. And it just kind of plans started to change. My wife I was gonna say my wife and I, but really she did all the heavy lifting. Got pregnant. We got pregnant. And
That's definitely the heavy lifting, the pregnant part.
oh yeah, absolutely. I just sort of was like, I work for you now. You just let me know what I can do for you.
Yep.
So the home studio quickly needed to be turned back into a dining room, and then eventually a nursery. So as we were putting together songs for the record, I started to kind of let go of some of these solo tunes and say, look, you know, what do you think of this? And you know, Dave liked some of them, and so we wound up cutting them. And Stay was it was kind of a hard song to write because I don't think I've been ready to say the words that I don't really want to go on the road.
Right.
You know, and especially as somebody who is sort of self-identified as a bit of a road dog for the last 20 years, it's kind of a big deal to admit that it might be time to stay home. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to go on the road.
Right.
It just means that I would like to spend more time at home.
Your priorities are different.
That's right. And I started to feel that pull back in 2019, and we finished off our year of touring, and I'd sort of set aside some time to take some time off the beginning of 2020, which was supposed to end in March of 2020, which of course we all kind of know how that went. And I went from having 3 months off to having 2 years off, which has been really, really good.
Cool.
But that's kind of what the song is about. It's just sort of wrestling with this sort of the dichotomy of wanting to keep my job as a touring musician, but also really loving the idea of being home with my family and my loved ones. And that's something that both Dave and I really identify with right now, being new dads. And so it's you know, it's a fun tune, but it's heavy for us in a way. And the music video.
Ta-da! Hit it.
When it came time to put out this record, our manager really encouraged us to open up to the possibility of making more music videos. It's not something that we've done traditionally. We've always fashioned ourselves as a live band. So if we ever had an opportunity to do video, we always wanted it to be of the band playing songs, because that's kind of how we see ourselves. But his point was good, and it was that with the right music videos, you give new fans a chance to find your stuff through a different avenue. Sometimes the video can bring a different element to the story, or can tell a different story, or present the story differently. And when it's done right, a good video just adds to what we've done, to what we've created. And this was the first video that we did for this record, and we love Grant Davidson, who goes by the moniker Slow Leaves. He's an incredible songwriter. He's really gifted. He sings like Roy Orbison, and he makes these really wacky music videos, and we've always loved them. They're like really DIY and quirky, but they balance this really fine line of humor without being silly, overtly silly.
Right.
And I think our video slipped into silly, but it was really fun to make. And I think when I look back at it, I think we managed to make something that's pretty charming. It was also really fun to sort of lean into a lighter side, because we tend to be fairly serious. The songs that we sing are fairly serious, but we're actually idiots. Like music is medicine for the hardest bits of our life, but like 90% of the time we're just idiots.
Right.
And so it was fun. It was fun to make a little bit of room for that.
That's cool. Well, when I saw that snow, I was having flashbacks to my days in Rochester, because we used to get the lake effect snow from Toronto and Lake Ontario and all that. So, man, I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah, I bet. I don't want to hear about your weather right now, Marty.
It's not bad out there. Yeah. Since we're talking about the videos, there's another video for the next song on the album, "What in the World," which is the song is a co-write with a guy named Jonathan Singleton. So address those issues if you can.
When I hear a slow song, would I spin around? Would be the home in my hometown. When I get too high, who'll take off my crown? When I'm up on a ledge, who'll talk me down?
Yeah, so Jonathan Singleton is a guy that we collaborate with fairly regularly. He has a cut on our first record, has a cut on my first solo record, and 2 cuts on this record. And he's one of the few folks that we really love to co-write with. And we've yet to really miss. You know, he always brings great stuff to the table, and we love him as a writer. And So he co-wrote After the Rain and What in the World with us on this record. And yeah, he's actually a bit of a hit maker. He's a Nashville guy, and he's certainly more known for all the other songs he's written rather than ours. But we're lucky to have him. For whatever reason, he keeps saying yes when we say, hey, you want to write one?
Right.
But yeah, he brought some really beautiful stuff to the table on that tune, and it was a blast to kind of explore some new territory, because the first two songs that we wrote with Jonathan for our first record and for my solo record were pretty kind of up tempo, sort of funky things, and What in the World was a little more on the sensitive side, which is sort of tends to be where Dave and I kind of live a little more often than not.
Right.
And it was really nice to sort of explore that side of things with Jonathan. And then the video is kind of what Dave mentioned before, is, you know, we're a live band sort of first and foremost, and so the video is just catching a vibe in the studio that we work out of, and just the live band doing a live band's thing.
Cool. Now, I don't have song title writing credits. I've listened to the whole album, but I haven't had all the other stuff. And so I'm wondering, do you guys always write together? Do you write separately? Should I be able to tell which one is which is songs? Is there a particular style that each one of you kind of finds as your own?
Yeah, I mean, we do, for the Brothers Landreth, we do write exclusively together, and most of the time, one of us will bring an idea to the table, and then the other guy will help him finish. Okay. So we kind of will bring half songs to the table, and in the very rare occasion, you know, when there's something that I've written, it always passes through Dave's hands, you know, for editing and stuff. He's a brilliant writer, and way smarter than me, and reads a lot more books. So even on the tunes that I kind of bring to the table that are mostly done or all the way done, Dave always sort of sprinkles some of his magic on there. So I don't think there's really any songs on any of our records that you haven't participated in at all, and it was kind of defeats the purpose for us. Like the whole point of this band is for us to collaborate. So that's kind of what we do. So gotcha. Hopefully you can't tell the difference, but usually the lines that sound like, man, I think a smart person wrote that, that's Dave. and then
not true.
And then the sort of Barney Rubble lines are me.
Gotcha. All right, Barney Rubble is good. One song I wanted to touch on was "Don't Feel Like Crying," because it had kind of a Everly Brothers vibe to it, and there's some kind of high harmonies going on there. I couldn't tell where those were coming from, so please enlighten me.
I thought I saw you out of the corner of my eye, and it made me want to cry, but I don't feel like crying anymore. When I think about you walking through that door, tears come falling like before, but I don't feel like crying. I don't feel like crying.
So that's that voice is the angelic voice of Leith Ross, which is we mentioned earlier is one of the artists that we work with through our company Birthday Cake. Leith is a young artist from Manitowoc, Ontario, which is just outside of Ottawa. Joey met Leith when he was living in Ontario, when he was living in Toronto a number of years back, and they became quick friends. And we put out Leith's first record on our record label, and then they wound up moving on to get a major label deal for record number 2. They signed with Republic earlier this year and have now graduated to the big leagues. As
there you go.
Joey is producing their second record.
Cool.
Amazing. But it was the first and only time that we've done a feature vocal on any of our projects. And it was during COVID, and we sent the stems to Leith and just said, sing along. And what you hear on the record is what they sent back, basically verbatim. And yeah, it has become one of my favorite moments on the album. And so, yeah, I really cherish that little piece.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, speaking of the Everly Brothers as well, music business is littered with brothers who have made music together and then almost killed each other. There's the Davies brothers and the Everly Brothers and all. So do you guys have any, how do you work together? How do you make it work between the two of you?
Bulletproof t-shirts.
Good on you.
Stab-proof clothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we get along really well, and in the moments when we're not getting along, we communicate really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we both have, I mean, I'll speak for you, but I'm hoping you agree. But we both have a tremendous amount of respect for one another, and
right.
that kind of comes first. And Dave and I grew up in such a way that we wound up being really close friends. And when we were in high school.
What's the age difference between the two of you?
1.5 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 1 year, 8 months, and 1 day.
Not that you're counting.
Not that we're counting yet.
I rounded up to 2 years because I'm older.
Yeah. But yeah, like, I mean, when we were in high school, Dave and his friends would let me hang out, and which is not
right.
common. Let the little brother hang around. But yeah, so we've always been pretty tight, and that kind of comes first. And I mean, we definitely bicker and stuff, but I think that just comes from growing up in the same house, and you just sort of get straight to the goods.
Right. So what kind of stuff did you listen to when you were 15, 16 years old? What got you all revved up about music?
Well, there's sort of like two soundtracks. There was our parents' record collection, which
right.
I think is, when you listen to our music, that's really what shines through, is that stuff made it really deep into our bones.
Right.
And that was Bonnie Raitt, and who we landed a cut on her newest record. The first single off her newest record was our track Made Up Mind. So that was like kind of a full circle thing.
It's a pretty good record too, I must say.
Oh man, is it ever?
Yeah, I just reviewed it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So Bonnie was a big part of the soundtrack. Ry Cooder, Lyle Lovett, Little Feat, John Hyatt,
right?
Steely Dan, Stevie Wonder,
Stevie, Bonnie, Joni Mitchell.
Right, of course.
Good one. Ricky Lee Jones.
There you go.
And then the stuff that we listened to as kids.
Yep.
Like Joey you were into Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yep.
And a lot of blues, a lot of great blues guitar players, Robin Ford, stuff like that, some more contemporary stuff. And I was listening to like bad punk rock.
Okay. I made some of that.
I mean, I wouldn't say bad punk rock.
Sure, actually it wasn't bad punk rock, but it was punk rock. And I, it was a phase.
Yeah.
It was a phase.
So you wouldn't hear, listening to this record, and I have to admit, I haven't heard your previous ones, just this one. It's a very different sound than what you're describing, punk and even Stevie Ray Vaughan. Is it a departure for you, this record?
Yeah, in a pretty serious way. We have sort of traditionally been what is now sort of popularly called an Americana band.
Yep, that's kind of what I was expecting. And then I was like, well, wait a minute, this is not what that is.
Yeah. And I think if you did a deeper dive into our catalog and you sort of saw the trajectory, maybe this record would make a little more sense in terms of it being potentially pitched as an Americana record, because it's still, things like Don't Feel Like
Crying. That can be anything, really.
Yeah, well, and that's the whole point of Americana, is it's a soft place for anything in the roots category to land.
I mean, we have an Americana scene in New Zealand, so that just goes to show.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like what?
Yeah, so I mean, for us, it's creatively, it's a bit of a departure, because much like the music that we mentioned that we grew up on, that's kind of how we like to make records. Four or five people in a live room, looking at each other, making eye contact, adjusting the arrangements as we go, and feeding off one another for what we play. And because of COVID, we couldn't record that way, and it just pushed us in a different direction. And I'm very much a lover of improvised music, and
Right.
while the way that we traditionally like to improvise wasn't available to us, we found new ways to improvise within a slightly modified format. And this
When you say
record-
improvised music, there's a couple of things that I think of because I'm much older than you guys. It's either jazz or something like the Grateful Dead. So, and
Yeah,
there's a lot of other
yeah,
stuff
well,
in
I mean-
between all that.
Yeah, of course. And I think, you know, we're big fans of that sort of jazz bebop thing, but also blues, I think, is very deeply improvisational.
Mhm.
And we're you know, we grew up as working musicians, you know, sidemen. So
Yep.
being well versed in a lot of different kinds of music was really important in order to just, you know, keep food on the table. So as such, we're pretty versatile musicians, and we welcome a lot of those things into our playing. Although, you know, we don't sound like a jazz band at all, but I think
Right.
that some of those mentalities rub off, and the way that you listen in that environment. You know, even though we're playing singer-songwriter music, our MO is always to have one ear on the other people in the band, making sure that you're catching something. If somebody's doing something cool, you can build on it. So we're not the kind of band that plays the songs down the same every single night. There's always going to be slight variances in that, and those moments are really, really special to us. And you know, obviously making a record is a different environment than you know, live improvised music. But the way that we make our records is very much like that, you know. And we're not coming to the table with, okay, here's a laundry list of all the parts I want to record, and I've written out the vocal arrangements. It's all very reactive, so reactionary, I should say. So yeah, that's and because of the way we were kind of forced to make this record due to COVID restrictions, it made us think on our feet. And I think one of the things that's most special about this record is that we had to pivot in what could have potentially been an uncomfortable situation, and wound up making, I think, safe to say, our favorite record.
Cool. So when you do the live thing, because I think you have a tour that's starting off in June sometime, are you augmented by other musicians? Is there a band that's formed around the two of you?
Yeah, we've been traditionally a 4-piece, with either the fourth player playing another guitar or keyboards. But we're bringing it back to formula. The original band version of this band was a 3-piece, and that's what we're doing on this tour. When we sort of kicked off getting ready for touring this thing, and of course, COVID being what it was, we were supposed to start touring months and months ago. And
Sure. Yeah.
But the guy who's playing keyboards in our band is a fella named Liam Duncan, and he goes by Boy Golden. He writes his own music, and he put out a record that started to do really well.
Is he on your label as well?
He's not. No.
Oh, you got to snag him.
No. We didn't. Yeah, we
tried.
We tried. But no, he landed in a very good home. So as sideman, I mean, I'm indulging. Forgive me here, but
Please go right ahead. That's what we're here for.
As sideman, like, we've been in the same position he was at when we both quit our touring jobs to do this gig.
Right.
And then it became our life. And we were watching as Liam was having his moment, and he was really reluctant to let go of the gig, because we had a blast on the road together. We had a lot of fun. There was going to be some good tours, but we saw the writing on the wall, and we both had a chance to talk to him and say, hey man, this is your moment.
Yeah.
Like,
We know what's coming. You got to go.
You got to go. And, and we are lovingly pushing you out the door, because
Nice.
we don't want to get to, baby monitor, not mine.
Baby monitor. That's right. You guys are dads now, right?
That's right.
Congratulations.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I'm just about to be a grandfather for the first time, so there you go.
Oh,
Congratulations.
So
well,
we'll see how that goes. But
and,
so how does that have anything to do with your musical? It's got to interfere with everything, being a dad, because it does.
It's the most gloriously disruptive thing that's ever happened.
Yeah, easily. Yeah. This is why I'm repeatedly yawning.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
You know, I've got the
Yeah.
perpetual tired dad vibe going on now.
Yeah, we're gonna go on the road, and it's gonna be the most restful thing that we've done in
Right.
2 years.
Right. Yeah, very good.
I've looked
All
forward to
right.
this.
Now, We'll wrap this up by talking about the last song on the record. Back to the, I noticed, is that a steel guitar in there in the solo? What's
No,
happening?
actually, that's me. That's me just playing regular old slide guitar. But
Okay.
There's a certain sound that you get out of a lap steel because of the way that the instrument itself is built.
Right.
You tend to pick a little further up the strings than you do on an electric guitar further back.
Right.
And you get this you get more fundamental, fundamental harmonic than you do further back, and as a result, you get this kind of hollow, very soft and beautiful sound. And so that's a great ear you got. I was really trying to make it sound like that as much as I could.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what that is. And there's a songwriter out of, I think he's out of Nashville, but I could be wrong. His name is Greg Gehring, and he's got a song called Safe Here in Your Arms, and he's a brilliant instrumentalist and great singer and songwriter.
Right.
And on that solo, it's the most bizarre thing, but the sound changes so drastically from the verse to the solo section.
Right.
And the whole song just flips almost inside out. And I wanted to capture a little bit of that. So I was very, very loosely stealing from Greg Gehring on that.
Now I got to listen to that song.
Yeah, please do. It is a wild record.
Hey, cool.
But it's really, really unique.
What's the name of the record?
I can't remember the name of the record, but the song's called Safe Here in Your Arms.
I mean, I've been talking to a lot of people in Nashville. Of course, pedal steel is all over the place. Oh, and I spoke to Pete Drake's widow. He's the guy that played on all this stuff in the 60s and 70s, even with the Beatles, and
very cool.
Played on All Things Must Pass and all that stuff. It is
Wild.
It's an instrument that I think is finally finding its place, because I know when I was growing up, I hated country music because I grew up in the country and I wanted rock and roll, and now it's people my age are going, actually, that's the good stuff. So
yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot cooler now, but I think people are doing. I mean, people have always done very cool things with pedal steel, but people are doing some cool stuff these days with pedal steel. Robert Randolph comes to mind, and he's like Jimi Hendrix on a pedal steel. He comes more from the gospel tradition, mind you, than the country tradition. But anyway.
Are you familiar with an old song from the 50s called Sleepwalk by Sancho and Johnny?
Yeah, Sancho and Johnny. Yeah.
Okay, good. Because that's kind of where it's. Yeah, it's great stuff. All righty. Well, thanks for spending all this time talking to me about all this.
Well, if we wind up in New Zealand, we'll come and knock on your door.
That's what I want to hear. All right. Thank you very much. That's been fantastic. Good luck.
Thanks,
and thank you very much. We'll see you.
Okay. Take care of yourself.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.